Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the new year, 2016. Hopefully it will be better than the previous years. Certainly the plans are great. Mm, to start with, let me emphasize once again, I am not black. My queendom is definitely on the side of the light, but I can live in the darkness, like a cat that can see even if it's the night. My second name is Beata. Someone called me Beatrice once, which means I could go through hell and still be myself, which is what's going to happen. I'm still in hell. The other day I was attacked by Satanists again. It felt pretty much like some kind of judgment, as if I was part of some secret meeting of some, I don't know, satanistic mass or whatever. Obviously, it was not my way. It felt pretty much like some kind of ritual attached, probably the ritual on the Virgin. We are having a kind of fight, or war perhaps even, over the Pentagon. We are having a war over many things. Still, I want to make it absolutely clear, no matter how many hardcore profiles we create, they have nothing to do with my life. It is only the stupid people, the ignorant people, the steerable people who buy your version of my life story, who buy your version of my identity. Obviously, all the harm you are doing to me is potent in consequences. Obviously, my losses are immense, but it will strike back at you proportionately. The other day, there was an attack in Pakistan. On that day, someone was working on creating a conflict between me and Malala. So I want to make it absolutely clear that I will do my best to prevent that conflict from coming into being. I'm aware Malala was critical of me. I am I am aware she might have ridiculed me. Obviously, you know that I reject ridicule, and normally I despise people who ridicule me. I don't use ridicule. I mean, when I use it, this is usually the answer. I have the habit, the rule of speaking the language of my enemy. Uh, I'm aware of Malala's complex situation. I'm aware that she's a miracle that happened to many Pakistanis. On the other hand, she is a threat to other Pakistanis. I am aware her story is the story of historic nature. And I am aware that Malala cannot make it on her own. So if she is part of devastatingly powerful connection, and it will take the spirit, the pure spirit of Malala and her connection with the divine to be able to remain herself in the powerful crowd of politicians who have their own interests. I wish her the best of luck, and I hope she will survive, by which I don't mean she will live, but she will remain the beauty she was when she started her work. I can only say that she should be very cautious when being with people who suggest that my saying her face was beautiful was ridicule. These are the people who taught her so, or were attempting to create the conflict, not me, who is her enemy. I also understand that she does not understand my fight, which is a complex problem of democracy. I am a victim of unthinkable persecution in the free Poland. Poland prides herself on being the flagship of freedom, the flagship of human rights. It is not true. Today, Poland is a totalitarian country, and it will take a long way and a lot of genius to make it the state of law again. So these are the few words of introduction. Generally, I want to withdraw from the political life as such. I want to withdraw from the public life. I want to establish myself at home and do my work. When I was having the difficult time, I went to the supermarket and I looked at some books. One of them was, they were devoted to famous actors. One of them was devoted to Audrey Hepburn. They opened it and it was a very difficult time for me. And I read the sentence. It was in Polish, so maybe these are not her words exactly, but this is the meaning. She said I was doing my job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing my job. And as you know, I have created the Kingdom of Agnipolitanian. Some people claim rights to it. Let me put it straight. No one is to claim whatever rights to it apart from me. And the only person I can fully acknowledge is Paris Hilton, paradoxically enough, even if she belongs to a totally different world. I don't know. Once I watched a movie called The News or something like that about the woman. She was getting huge money for being the news, for being the inspiration. I believe this is what Paris Hilton did in my life. And I definitely prefer her image, a royal image. I saw her picture where she was wearing a sort of crown. She was really beautiful. I believe Paris Hilton should be beautiful, not pretty. But of course, she can choose her life. I know, parties is great. I used to party a lot and I loved it. Probably my idea of partying was slightly different, but I do know how great it is to get yourself ready for going out and dancing and having fun, socializing. This is a kind of life that someone can choose. And this is the choice basically. Well, it's your choice. However, you should be aware that you can be beautiful. So this is where I if and how come? Well, it was via the Talk FM radio station. I'm not sure if it was Mark Tapeman or Jacek Balkan, but one of them quoted the anecdote of Paris being told that Paris was named after her, the capital of France. And it felt very funny to me. And I thought of it when I was lying in my bed in the middle of unthinkable abuse, which was making my heart very sick. My heart actually has been impaired to a great degree. And this is when you try to get some anchor. So for some reason, the anecdote came to my mind, and then I thought that, well, it was pretty reasonable for Paris Hilton to believe that someone named a city, therefore, why not? And let us be honest, what do we know about the history of African cities? So I believe France was pretty exotic for Paris. I thought I could have my hobbies as well. Probably because I had this idea earlier when I was a school teacher in Goldrum. One of the homeworks I gave my pupils was create your own queendom, where you can learn, not queendom, kingdom. I did not think of it in terms of womanhood and manhood at that time, the female and the male. So that was the homework I got. The idea was to learn how to use their art, because they were to describe what was there in their kingdom and arrange it their own way. Some of them have chosen democracy, of course. Most of them, I guess. Anyway, this is how Agnipolitanian came into being. It became Agnipolis, Agni after me, Agnieszka, and Polis, my city. And then, as I was working on trying to recreate my life that was totally devastated, and still being devastated, I emanated more from the source that I am, even if I might have some other inspirations. And Agnipolis, the capital city, the royal capital city, became the center from which the kingdom of Agnipolitania emanated. There have been powerful inspirations that have been felt. I always say that I am grateful to Mr. Medvedev, even though to all appearances our always parted. And I don't know, I don't really know the attitude right now, because I'm being made to believe that Mr. Medvedev is my real enemy. But at that time, shockingly enough, I was learning a lot. I could see him going through all the abuse in Russia. What was happening to him, you can see it in some of his speeches, in some of his public addresses, even though he has obviously all the security given. But still, Russia is not the only power in the world, and we should be aware of it. So he was the sort of inspiration. But apart from that, I believe that I owe my development of the legal instinct to him, and this is invaluable because thanks to it, I can function in the systems that work like Russia, perhaps, where one day the government can pass the law saying that no country can intervene in the matters of Russia as far as the human rights are concerned, that Russia relies on its own constitution only. So this is a specific system, and we need to be very skillful to operate in that, which is exactly what I'm doing in my relationship with the church, with and to the Church of Scientology. Except that there you have the ecclesiastical law. So this is all. Another thing is my contact in Pakistan, which is probably a similar situation that gives me the additional element of trying to combine it with the questions and problems posed by religion. So I want to make it clear, because I know that some politicians in Poland or some other people want to claim the impact or credit that is not theirs. Of course, every person that I have been inspired by, at whatever part in my life, at whatever part of my life, does have a credit, but then one has to balance it. I don't have full data from what I'm learning. I'm dealing in Poland with the case similar to the Clintons, only the reverse. Apparently, I'm dealing with I did have sex with this woman, Agnieszka. No, we did not. And it's not probable you will ever will. You will ever have. So, let us wind up this lengthy introduction with those words. And now, let me move to presenting the general outline of the Agnipolitanian Academy. We have, and I'm asking you to be aware that these are some guidelines. These are the first ideas. Of course, I have been working on it for some time. However, this is not a complete project. This is not a program I'm going to stick to. This is not a plan. This is to give you some orientation points. And of course, each of them can be worked on, developed further, and empowered further. The Agnipolitanian Academy, as I have it in my mind right now, consists of 7 smaller entities, so to say. So we have the faculty, 6 faculties and 1 laboratory. So we have the Faculty of Fine Literature and Arts, the Faculty of Supreme Education, the Legal Laboratory, the Faculty of Finance, the Faculty of Histories, the Faculty of Health and Beauty, the Faculty of Natural and Supernatural Sciences. And now let me give you some idea of this, because I have been abused, but basically it is about voicing some ideas. I don't think you have the right to voice your ideas in my private space. I always say you are free to write an email to me, you are free to use the Twitter to send a message. I have my account in Twitter. This is Agnipolitanian. So this is the best way to contact me. You can also find my phone number in the directory, because it's available. So you know Agnieszka Rojek, and you just check the directory for Krakow, and you can call me and discuss the problems you have with whatever I'm saying. You have no right to enter my space. Simple. And you have no right to interfere with my science. It is important to give you some ideas, because I see that when I said that I was going to start the Faculty of Health and Beauty, I started having those voices that for them oral sex is beautiful. Fine, start your own policy, start your own faculty, start your own academy, create your own faculty. Don't introduce it to mine, because it has nothing to do with my life. This is admin for me, that's all. The Faculty of Fine Literature and Arts. So basically, it's definitely reading literature. Okay, so starting with classical literature, novels, poetry, short stories, drama. Then reading essays, dealing with a variety of subjects and critical works on literature, reading philosophy, reading works, and writing essays, perhaps going into some polemics, so discussing certain issues raised by other philosophers, and thus creating a dialogue in writing or perhaps in a presentation. Developing my own philosophy, which is Agnipolitanism. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And part of the activity will be recording videos. So there will be speeches, there will be lectures, and probably just spontaneous presentations or responses. Theater. Reading plays on the one hand, specialist comments on the plays and performances, perhaps, because we all are watching performances, of course. And here, sadly enough, I need to come to terms with the new situation in my life. So this is going to be limited to what I'm able to watch on the videos I have. Theater going is out of my world because of what's been done to me. The public life is out of my life, sadly enough. So I am right now, basically I will have to get a job, so I will go to work. But as far as concerts or theater go, I have been deprived of it for the rest of my life. And acting, so I will exercise acting. Drawing. I need to learn to draw, and yes, I will keep on doing cartoons. I will draw in charcoal, and then do some computer editing and powers, perhaps, like in the case of my original art, which is Queen Alvida Jazz, the Queen of Agnipolitania. Then, at the time, it was Agnipolitania, now it is Agnipolitania, but the original art remains. So it was black and white, and then I filled it with colors as I learned to use power pen. Drawing in pastels and drawing in pencils. Probably I get some more ideas as I learn to draw, to create works of visual art. I'm going to develop myself as a stylist too. So on the one hand, there are designs, so I will be designing clothes once I learn to draw, because sometimes I can have some ideas, but I'm not able to put them on paper because I cannot draw. So the big project for this year is learning to draw. And designing spaces. For example, you could see some of my designs in my cartoons. So I designed a throne. I really loved my throne. However, it was a cosmic throne, which had a bit of a hole in it. But this was like, that I am sit on the pool that is basically to be above the pool, as the queen should be. And it had the colors, the white and turquoise and black. So it was to depart from the colors that are traumatic for me. That is what the combination of white and turquoise. And I must perhaps remind you of the situation of them becoming traumatic. So the situation is my former so-called best friend, who proved to be a false friend in fact, came to me in response to my phone call. when I was on the verge of getting a stroke, which could paralyze me for life, or cause my death even. It was a devastating heart action. The whole organism in total disarray. What's more, I had a period at the time. And at that time, when I needed help most, she came to me to stab me, actually. So, this is the nerve in the back. So, it's just unimaginable. She was ridiculing me and she made the recording in my place. And the solution was someone had created the pornographic knife for me. And I just realized that it was December 2011. And on that day, she changed her profile picture. And the picture she put down was her wearing white haircut. And it is unbeatable in the sense that the trauma is so strong that no matter what happens, in my subjective world, it will always be her and the trauma of the day, her coming to kill me. Which is why I need to redesign the throne. I have not done it yet, but I will work on it. I haven't got the idea, probably during with my new crown. I also want to emphasize that my roses have nothing to do with Dior. So I think we are free to have our colors. And it would be very stupid to emphasize that no one is allowed to wear black and white because the colors belong to her grandmother. Anything else? Oh yes, and another cartoon. There was a cartoon where I created the bathroom, and it had all those beautiful colors of orange, pink. I don't remember what else was there, but I remember very clearly that it was very beautiful, and I made the point that the bidet was the bidet there in the toilet. Funnily enough, when I came in defense of women called bidets, the argument was turned against me, and I was considered the one calling them the bidet, which is quite unbelievable. But this is what you have in Radio Talk FM, where you have the satanist at work, Czarek Łasiczka, and people like him. I believe he is not the only one knowing that I am. And it is possible that it is rooted in my MA thesis on bacteria. I believe that my enemy, perhaps never, has read my MA thesis and put it into play, looking forward to me being killed. So, overall, this is the faculty of fine literature and arts, and obviously these are just preliminary notes. As you know, this faculty is rooted in two concepts. One of them is we all create our fictions, which is the concept of each of us creating our own life, which becomes part of a story, each of us creating a story, in fact, by living our life, which becomes part of the overall story, and those stories interact to create the story of the whole and to create the story of the world, to create all other stories which are about our own individual life. But the philosophical implication is that each of us matters a lot, and each second of our life matters a lot. Which does not mean we are to become obsessed and control each and every single breath, even though perhaps we should. And some people holding responsible positions that create the future of humankind certainly should. Supreme education. Foreign languages. We start with foreign languages because it's the simplest beginning. And here we are going to have advanced English and German, continued and elementary Russian, Spanish and French. This year, these are the languages I have been focusing on every day. And I started at the end of the last year, so this is the continuation. My deadline for making them elementary is the 27th of January, when I have my next visit. When I have next visit in the office of work or office for the unemployed, I decided that I would say my Russian, Spanish, and French are elementary, so I must make them so. And after that deadline, I will make it to the degree I will make it, right? Then we have beginners, Hungarian, Italian, and Norwegian. So this is what is going to come in the nearest future. And the distant future is, as far as the distant future is concerned, it's Ukrainian added. So this is one, so to say, one category, okay, when you learn a foreign language. Now, with the beginners, you cannot do it, but as far as the advanced language goes and elementary, you can also make some specializations like business or law or art or whatever is your interest in life. So this is one thing that would be English for specific purposes, for example, or German for specific purposes. But apart from that, I am going to start a different category of education which involves learning the foreign language. And these are big projects, starting with the Tibetan. So this includes study of the language, study of the culture, and study of the history. Okay, so this is history of the area, history of the language, of all the history simply. So this is the big project, okay? Culture, history, and language. And this is the Tibetan project, and in the future I want to add a Hindu project, an Arabic project, a Chinese project, and a Japanese project. Now, the big project includes also, it includes culture, history, mythology, and language. Okay, so the 4 departments. As you know, I have started, or no, don't know, I started my superior education faculty with trying to create a book, an e-book, an F-book, a Facebook book. However, my access to Facebook has been blocked. They demand giving a mobile phone number, and I don't have a mobile phone, so I cannot even check. I mean, some of the sites are available, but basically I have no access to Facebook right now. When I started it, I started creating this book, which was to be the framework for the operation of the Supreme Education Faculty. And I started with the introduction, and then I posted the subjective calendar. It was in Polish. That faculty was to be created in Polish originally, and then perhaps translated. This presentation is in English. I'm not sure how to develop the academy in the nearest future, because of course I'm going to withdraw from the publications and focus on my own work. So I'm presenting in English because English is the most universal language. So there's a high probability of more people being able to follow what I'm saying when I say it in English. And the idea of the subjective calendar is the life experience. So these are specific spots of time, specific situations, which each of them can be the starting point for some compartment of education. To give you an example, think of the situation in the Rishki school, the situation with Maya throwing bread into the rubbish bin. Of course, the situation has been completely misinterpreted and completely misquoted. So basically, you got a totally different picture. But let us focus on the lesson. And the lesson is that it does not matter that I know that bread gets this religious connotation during the Holy Mass, during the Holy Mass. And it is vitally important because if we don't understand the sacrament as such. But it is important that for those people, what I did was a sacrilege. And it is important what response that sort of sacrilege evokes. So it is not about them being right or not being right. I mean, if we talk about law, if we take the case to the court of law, of course I mean, there's no doubt about it. But if we think in terms of creating the world peace, we get an invaluable lesson of what happens when you take the Holy Quran and put it in the Holy life. Now, another example, closely related, is that of the cartoon I drew. The cartoon that was also misinterpreted. In the Western legal system, you are not allowed to do anything to me because I drew a cartoon. I am free to do it. I am free to make the comment on the social life, on manners, on the current values. I am totally free to do it. And putting the question of you misinterpreting totally apart. Let us stick to the point of me publishing the cartoon which is illegal and think of the response. Now, what is the point of publishing the cartoons of the, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly in English, of the Holy Muhammad, well, you know what I mean. I just realized I have never pronounced the word as such. So this is life experience that teaches you a lesson. And basically, it is not the question of it being legal. It is the question of it being right. By the way, I do believe that what I did at the time, paradoxically enough, has proved very, very right. So it was probably my intuition. We have the big subject, the big project of creating a vision of Poland. This will be my vision of Poland, and it will be connected with my values, of course. It is definitely not going to be the left wing. And the left wing has raped me into being part of the left wing. But if it's not going to work, this is basically, I'm held a prisoner. That is all. And as I said, it is never going to work because I will never agree to it. I may agree to working on some projects together with the left wing people, but I will never agree to be part of it because our values are completely different, and that would be constant hell for me, and I deserve heaven. So no way. I'm the right wing, and if I were to create the party, that would be a noble right, the noble right. That's the name, and of course I would define the nobility in my own terms. The previous name was to be healthy or sane, right? But that is speaking of it in terms of politics. What I am going to do is to create a vision, and it will be rooted in romanticism, Polish romanticism. For the study of literature, I have chosen the study of literature, but this is the study of the Polish literature, of the development of the Polish literature in the context of the culture, and this is very well written. This is the book I was studying when I was preparing for my entrance exam to become the student of English philology. The book is, this is the book by Julian Kleiner, and I really recommend it. Beautiful language and beautiful thoughts. So this is one of the anchors. Then, as I said, Poland is a small country, but it has given birth to such great development as Nicholas Copernicus, Maya Rostowska, and John Paul II. So these are basically the anchors. And then we have this traumatic life turned into the real trauma after death. I believe it must be a real anguish, post-mortem anguish for Kapuscinski. And I'm certainly going to look into his works and see how modern he was and how visionary he was. For example, in writing about the post-colonial consequences of the previous politics and history development. And I do believe, I'm not sure if it was Kapuscinski who said it or if it was my own idea, but definitely it was rooted in Kapuscinski, so he must have put it at the back of his mind that he had this specific talent to be able to somehow synchronize with some of the writers, at least in some areas. So perhaps, even if he did not write it, perhaps it was his idea that we are to face the reverse colonialism, and I believe this is the end of the Islamic State as well, as we know the Islamic State does uphold slavery. So I believe the final aim is to revert it, that the white people are to be slaves now. And I believe it is hanging in the air. I will be the royal astronomer. And perhaps that would suffice for a start. Of course, this is the great art personality, or but perhaps not personality, my art are connected, fine art are connected with Jan Matejko, and of course I'm very close to the Wawel Royal Castle, so this is Krakow. And what else can I say? I can also add that as far as the romanticism goes, of course, this is Adam Mickiewicz and this is Juliusz Słowacki and others. However, as far as the thought goes, so the other side of it, because you have the mysticism. Mysticism is going to be part of my visionary project. But as far as the thought goes, this is Cyprian Kaminovi. However, I know that, I'm not sure if he was gay, but I know that he is appreciated by gay people quite a lot. Once again, I don't want to make this connection. So, this is what I want to emphasize, that in the same world, you cannot pretend Richard Dawkins does not exist. But it does not mean that I am to get into a direct connection with Richard Dawkins. If I have a book of essays, of best science essays, and it includes Richard Dawkins, I am allowed to read Richard Dawkins. But Richard Dawkins is not allowed to make a direct connection with my life or my body or my mind. And here I can make another point. There's a difference between synergy and integration. Synergy is a willful cooperation on a specific project. Integration is a violation of another person's freedom. What else? I believe that my knowledge of Poland by now is very limited, so what is going to come out of it in the end is going to be much richer from what I'm talking about now. I made this differentiation between mob and folk. So this is not about rejecting simple people. I appreciate simple people. I appreciate the ancient Rome, the simplicity of life close to nature. These are very close to me. I love villages. However, when you become that force that goes through the nobility and damages the beauty, the high values, everything that is higher than you become the mob. And this is what's happening to Poland. Poland is in a devastating condition right now. So I rejected the mob. If it doesn't matter what diplomas you hold, it doesn't matter what power you have, it doesn't matter how rich you are. If you think it's right, it doesn't matter whose daughter you are. If you think it's right to enter my private space, to put your comment there, you are the mob. It doesn't matter how eloquent you are. So, as I said, a lot in terms of discovery, and yes, we are going to look at the Polish nature too, to see what's ours, apart from our celebration of all the richness, the abundance of biological forms in the world, all over the world. One thing is certain, Poland is a power, and I want to think of it of her when my relationship with porn gets better as the superpower. I think we can. Cognitive framework is the ultimate aim of the supreme education. So right now we have three defining features. The first one is the multi-level structure of life, and we should start talking of it, speaking of it, or discussing it as something absolutely normal and learn how to work within it. And this is vitally important for the peace process at the level where we are now, with the Assanges having the power of changing accomplishments that they have. So you must make it known. This is the end of the former psychiatry and psychology that assigns different causes to what is totally different. This is the end of calling sane people insane because they hear voices. They hear voices because they are sane and their senses are correct. Matryoshka. Matryoshka is the metaphor of perception, and it is also vitally important to understand it for the world peace. So, the idea is that we grow up in a certain reality, and we have our own, depending on how powerful we are in observing the life before and looking at the world and seeing what it is. But then we have all those perceptions or frameworks of reference superimposed. And for example, someone who is a Christian has it as a certainty that they have only one lifetime, after which they go to heaven or hell, however they imagine it, but definitely you live once. The Buddhist may say, yes, we do live once, but we have many incarnations. But their reality is completely different. And this is also a certainty. And violating this reality is actually criminal within the ecclesiastical framework of Buddhism. It is a great sin to say reincarnation does not exist. So this is one of the examples. Then this is quite complex because there are certain, depending on the talent you have, you are able to perceive things. So your conceptual framework is vital for you being able to cooperate in the world. One of the things that are very curious is the image I received of, actually there are two more concepts I haven't put in my notes which I need to touch upon. I received this image of a huge UFO above the smaller UFO. The smaller UFO is the Illuminati UFO. The bigger UFO is my pink and green, which does not necessarily connect with the China as they think it does. It is not, it doesn't, not necessarily, because it is mine, and my ways are different from the Chinese ways. I am heterosexual. So, and this is definitely the one I am creating, and I'm pretty sure that the UFO that is protecting me want this Agnipolitanian quality to survive, and they will strike at you whenever you try to crush it or prevent making a heterosexual person homosexual is perversion. So you have that UFO, and in that picture I made the transcription, like, like the Bible was a transcription, and the notes on the Nostradamus illustrations, I have put it down and then written into the text. You can see it in my profile. You can see them in my profile. Is a transcription. So this is the same. This is like you have the hand and you can use the hand to make some sounds. But I don't know those signs, and I'm pretty sure that the signs have to do with some mathematical symbol, which can have some groundbreaking values in the development of science. Like the two concepts I wanted to mention, there's the Putnam's water. So this is a linguist, okay? I don't remember if it was she or he, and definitely discussing some linguistic phenomena, but what I remember was this groundbreaking idea that the water on Earth can be something totally different from the water on the earth in space on some other planet. Even in the chemical terms. So you can say, no, it's impossible. This is the structure, this is physics, this is chemistry. You cannot change it. Well, actually, you can. It is possible that out there, the physics, the chemistry, and biology are totally different. You must be able to think it, and this is what supreme education consists in. So this is one thing. Another thing is the Einstein's error, which consists in, this is the equation he got. He got some, I don't remember it correctly again, but basically the idea, this is important to have the concept. What happened? What he had on in front of him was correct, but it did not fit the neatness of his theory. So he changed it so that it would fit. Actually, I think that it is quite possible that he changed it for a different reason. Perhaps he was thinking of the consequences of this particular data becoming part of human reality, how people can use it against humanity. As we well know, Albert Einstein was a pacifist, so there's a real paradox in the brain behind the creation of the nuclear weapons. All the same, we must be aware that it is quite possible that we might be correct, but what we arrive at is incorrect with all the knowledge we have had so far. Now, okay, and basically what I suggest from the Supreme Education Faculty is the change of paradigm. I suggest that the science all over the world should accept the new paradigm, which is the metaphor of glasses. So, you had this paradigm, and you had that paradigm, and you can say that each of you is right within the reality you live in. Then the question we have is it possible to wear no glasses? And if so, how do you do it? And last but not least, we have propaganda. This is very difficult, and I will have to be very diplomatic to make Agnipolitanian survive, because we all know that propaganda is considered a survival factor for some countries and religious people. So basically, we must arrive at the differentiation between those ideals we decide to uphold and consider true to make our country, our nation survive, our religion, our community survive, and propaganda that is devastating. The propaganda that made the Polish nation launch a furious attack on a totally innocent person, Agnieszka. This is the propaganda that needs to be uprooted. So that's why I'm saying that the supreme education faculty is to counteract indoctrination. It is totally unacceptable that a typical member of the Church of Scientology hates each and every psychiatrist, and the typical psychiatrist hates each and every Scientologist. The legal lab. Perhaps I will not go into that much discussion, although I hope to be able to post this presentation. Anyway, the legal lab has a more loosely form. It is basically in this form of constant change. And let me just give you some subject matters, okay, so that you have the idea which are the areas I am interested in. So we have discrimination, and this is a powerful concept and a very huge area of discussion and research. To cut a long story short, let me explain to you how I am going to prove that the attacks against the Church of Science, not the Church of Scientology, against Scientologists, are totally illegal. My idea is to take all that has been said about Scientologists and all that has been said about Jews and consider it totally illegal and punishable by law, and just change it. So where you have the text saying the Scientologist is blah blah blah, and you have the text saying the Jew is blah blah blah. In the first text, you change Scientologist into Jew. The Jew is blah blah blah. In the second, the Scientologist is blah blah blah. So basically, you are having done this. You read what has been said about Jews, where you don't read Jew but read Scientology, and compare it with what's been said about Scientology. If you see analogy, it is obvious that the statements you've made about Scientology are totally illegal and punishable by law. Another key concept is 5 inviolables. So we have the inviolability of the correspondence, the inviolability of home, the inviolability of the body. I add 2 concepts, the inviolability of identity and the inviolability of ownership. In other words, if I am heterosexual and someone creates an identity of a homosexual for me, it should be punishable by law, and it does not matter what media the person uses. As for ownership, if you steal something from me, for example, let us imagine that Alexandra Kitcher, the former husband, who was to be my partner, no sexual connotations, in the establishment of our dream school, takes the program I created and puts it into some kind of activity. Then this is theft, obviously. What connects with it is the question of surveillance. So this is what needs to be closely looked into. And another question, obviously, that comes together is the question of privacy. So this is another concept. And here we do need to cover it legally somehow. The question of the public person. It is totally illegal to make a private person a public person, because this is the change of identity, and this is punishable by law. Now, how do you put it into the framework of law? How does it function in the framework of law? This is illegality. So if this is illegal, then you need to have punishment. With punishment, therefore. This is not to be dealt with in terms of gang mentality or in terms of lynch, because these are illegal. Then we have the area of labor law and the area of IT crimes, which goes beyond the crimes we have been discussing so far. Probably we need to add some scientific knowledge to it. So basically what happens to me when you create a game with me in it? Then we need to cover some special rights. So we need to introduce the concept of spiritual rights into the legal framework. And the religious sentiment belongs to that category. The same concerns, because it is important, so this is important. I mean, you have to be consistent. So if you have a religious state, you can have a secular state or a non-secular state, then this is different. But if you have the Western framework of reference, then it is utterly unacceptable that you may decide that the people are to stay in the classroom where there is a holy cross, but are not allowed to wear burqas there. This is discrimination. Then you have a very complex question of ecclesiastical law. So the question I am asking is, how do you create the reality, the legal reality that puts the state law in? Let me give you an example. When I was at St. Hill and they wanted to get rid of me, they started a process against me. And this was along their ecclesiastical norms. However, I was not there to defend myself. So no one told me, Agnieszka Rojek, I am accusing you of this and that. What do you say to it? Which is illegal, of course. So basically, I can start a process against not only this particular case, but against the framework, the operational framework of the church. It is illegal to have illegal proceedings against the person without the person having a chance to defend herself. Universal Declaration of Human Rights have been compromised in the attack on me. So we need to create something different. And basically, I also believe that with the new powers coming into play, like Russia or China, we need to create a new document. And once we create it, we need to make it a law, because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is what it would be great to have and how it should be. That should be part of the Constitution. I mean, it should be. We need to create something that somehow is real and can be put into constitution. Nepotism is a huge subject. So obviously there are degrees, and the case of Maya Rostowska is a precedent case here, which is why we need to tackle it. So it starts with me writing a comment on the Radek Sikorski's Facebook profile, saying that employing Maya Rostowska was an act of nepotism. Radek Sikorski was the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Poland. Maya Rostowska was Jacek Rostowski's daughter. Jacek Rostowski was the Minister of Finance. So this is an obvious case of nepotism. Now, it is not a big deal, you may say, but what were the consequences? The consequences were international, global mobbing against Agnieszka Rolik. The consequences are Maya Rostowska is guilty, Agnieszka Rolik is innocent. Still, Agnieszka Rolik is being persecuted in Poland, and the persecution is created worldwide. Okay. So this is why this case needs to get legal treatment. It can never happen again, and the people who are guilty need to be punished for it. This is creating the state of law. We need to get all the details, every single conversation Maya Rostowska had on the subject of Agnieszka Rolik. And every single conversation that Sikorski had on the subject of Agnieszka Rolik. Every single conversation Jacek Rostowski had on the subject of Agnieszka Rolik. I want to create a short book or long book of special terms. One of them is the black man did. Okay, so this is the new terminology, something that I have noted that I want to put into the legal reality. The black man did it. Sorry, not the black man, the nigger did it. The nigger did it. Has this element of content. This is total discrimination, but it consists in considering someone guilty, no matter the circumstances, just because the person belongs to the group discriminated against. And it does not really matter which culture you belong in, which group you belong in, because all it takes is changing the culture to become the nigger. So each of us is a nigger, even if elsewhere. Legal education. I want to introduce, apart from having, did I mention when I was talking about the supreme education? Did I mention the handbooks? I don't think I mentioned the handbooks. Where are they? Yes, I did not mention the handbooks. So, supreme education. Once again, I want to create my own handbooks for Agnipolitanian school education, and for special purposes, for example, work. So this is going to be my way. I should be, as far as the school education goes, they should be ready within 2 to 5 years if you stop bothering me with your presence. I mean, if you want to correct me, why don't you call me and ask me? Of course, you would have to pay for the coffee because I cannot afford it, thanks to your means. But or we can go for a walk, and you can say, I don't like this and that and that. and I want you to change this and that and that, and then I can listen to you, and then I will respect you because we are having a respectable meeting. But if you say you're constant, if you throw them into my private space, then of course all you get is despise and hatred. So legal education, of course, there will be a handbook for legal education. But what I want to do is I want to introduce legal auditing, first of all, at school. And I believe there was some misunderstanding when I said it for the first time. So people thought that I would introduce Scientology and audit pupils. No, legal auditing. You have financial auditing of companies. Then you have the concept of social auditing. And what I want to introduce is legal auditing, which means asking the question, is the school operating in agreement with the law? Well, as far as the schools I have been teaching in, that is the Wamdue school and the Mishki school, no. And then I thought that actually the same should be done in the workplace. So that's it. And I want to develop a form for doing this legal auditing at school. Work where I don't have enough knowledge right now to handle the workplace, but I'm certain I can handle schools. Now, natural and supernatural sciences. So, as I put it, scientific methods of acquiring knowledge in the domain of physics and spirituality in between and beyond. My claim is that there's a difference between the physical and the spiritual. However, both should be studied as in the scientific way, and I believe one can. Of course, if you read the introduction to the kingdom of Agnipolitanian, you will learn that I believe in the spiritual nature of people and animals. I'm not sure about the flora. I'm not sure what to think of. But this is also a form of life, so I believe there's some spirituality to it. It is important to be able to have the perspective of us being in the state of not knowing something. So, okay, this is what I know. Perhaps my knowledge is incorrect, but at the beginning I am certain. However, it is quite possible that if I learn something new, I get a new perspective on what I know, so it will be still true within a certain reality. However, if I get a broader reality, it stops being true. And it becomes a situation. So, in the same way, we need to be able and to have no shame saying, I don't know, because this is honest. Let me give you the concept of this beautiful marriage between natural and supernatural. That would be the music of the spheres or mathematics. And I still emphasize that I believe in the spirit is something totally different from. I don't buy the digital origin of life at all. So this is not the world I'm living in. Perhaps the spirits have created that world and some people operate in that reality, but this is not my reality. I'm above this, I'm on the spiritual level. Of course, we will start from getting the proper mathematical tools. And this is, you know, what you have done in my life is really devastating because there are people like Stephen Hawking whose voice is really valid, and it would be great to be able to exchange thoughts with such people. But the people have been thoroughly indoctrinated. Really, people like, starting with, I think it started with Noam Chomsky, whom I remember because, I studied English philology, so obviously this is a personality, this is a huge personality. So I was so happy that actually one could get in contact and actually exchange some thoughts with the person, actually get this, this is something huge. So he was the first. Then there was Richard Dawkins, and then you have Stephen Hawking. And basically, the point where I am now is like risking not getting their knowledge at all, because what they do to you when you get in contact with them is so thoroughly unacceptable that it's not worth it. So perhaps you should arrive at that knowledge they have been working on all their life on your own without having whatever contact with them. Which is, of course, wrong, because we should have a different attitude and we should respect the borders. So I don't know if I may suggest something, and I think I may, and I can even demand it for the future of humankind. Stop it. Don't act this way, because this is really very wrong. We are heading for a devastating future, and you are creating this devastating future. Do you really want it? Do you really want the chain nuclear explosions all over the world? Really? As to the Christianity and Islam, I did not, because I don't play you anymore. I try to avoid it. Sometimes I can read something, so I, I still read some of the words said by Stephen Hawking, and I plan to listen to his lecture in BBC 4, the 22nd, the 26th, or the 27th, 26th, I think, but on the 26th of January. But this is like, I really don't want it, because I don't want to get all the bad things you bring in, and you bring in a lot of bad things. And this is not only about the homosexual chain reaction, because this is a homosexual chain reaction. You are all connected, so it doesn't have to be you. It can be one of your lovers. It doesn't have to be a man, even it can be a woman. But you just you are not allowed to do it. You cannot do it. It's not fair. You have a person of goodwill giving you the bit of goodwill, and what you give back is damage, is devastation. So your hatred, your sarcasm, I mean, if this is your culture, fine, but you are not allowed to ridicule another person's sacred values, sacred life. And if you don't understand it, I'm really sorry, but you have nothing to do with intelligence even. You are just stupid. So I'm asking you to rethink. Wow, I don't know how I'm going to. Okay, health and beauty. So health and beauty, I'm trying. I need to somehow get more concise. Three parts of man. So this is the basic concept, because we need to understand it to know how this faculty is going to operate. This faculty is not for libertines, definitely not. They have no, they cannot enter it at all. Three parts of man: spirit, mind, and body. Uh, What does it imply? It implies diets. What does that imply? Well, of course, diets are about food, okay? But then you have those non-physical things, like one of them is, or physical things. So the diet here would be no oral sex. It has to do with what sort of energy accumulates in the areas of your body, and it has to do with chocolate. This is non-gay environment. This is a non-gay environment, and I want to emphasize it. This is a non-gay environment. Unless you give me my space back, and then obviously I can live in it, because as I'm saying, no way, no nonsense. This is about the diet for your brain, and non-teachers. So Aleksandra Kicza is not allowed in Agnipolitania. She is persona non grata. Now the positive development would be the practice of Tai Chi. And I really want to go into the martial arts, the Eastern martial arts. I'm not sure if I will make it, because right now I weigh 85 kilograms, which is devastating really. But the torture, the trauma I have been living since 2009 is really unbearable. So obviously there must be consequences. Sadly enough, the stressful for me is gaining weight, because some people are losing weight. In my case, this is gaining weight. So I don't know if I will make it to be the 65, let's say, or 60 kilograms, and be able to practice other Eastern martial arts. But perhaps it will be possible. Anyway, this is the development I have in mind. And basically I look at it as I look at playing the violin. Today I cannot, but perhaps in 5 years I will be in such a good form that I'll be able to pick up new activities like karate or playing the violin. Agnipolitanian aesthetics. So this is about beautiful works, about beautiful life, about style, about spaces. This has to do with museums, galleries, gardens, castles, and also with nature, with reservoirs of nature. And my favorites. There are handbooks connected with it. Handbooks of manners, handbooks of virtues, handbooks of habits. The beauty in Agnipolitania has to do with ethics. In other words, if there's no ethics, there's no beauty at all. There is creation of beautiful things and beautiful life. There is the environment. So, as you can see, this is a concept totally different from what some people may gather in art and beauty. Histories. Okay, maybe at this point let me mention, as I said this, let me make a comment on Scientology. So, what I did was really great, and I cannot understand your reaction at all. Because the way I think of it is, imagine you live in a village, and this village is assaulted regularly by some devastating forces, and they had no weapons. The only way of fight they use is with their body, their hands, their beauty, okay? and you get the chance to go to Shaolin and learn karate. So you get your own money, go there, learn the art, and come back. And thanks to it, you have the new skills, you have the new knowledge. You make your village much more powerful than ever before. And you prosecute the person for having done that. So this is exactly the way I think about my Scientology training. Your attitudes are incomprehensible for me and totally unacceptable, needless to say. No grant to start with. Histories. This is history, is not history for all sorts of reasons, but basically I'm going to deal with whatever that consists in, that has chronology and sequential development to it. So, of course, we are going to have histories of, we are going to study history. I'm going to study histories of civilizations, and here you have countries. In the countries, apart from studying the regular history, it is to do with speeches and diplomacy, and of course, right now I'm aware of how you create a history and how you pervert it. I never imagined that Orwell, the creation of history and changing of history depending on the needs, could become so real in my own life, where my own life has got a totally new history and people believe it, which is unthinkable, of course. The overall perception of history of civilizations in Agnipolitania is that there's an intermediary between God and people on the planet Earth, and these are extraterrestrial beings. So we have the extraterrestrial supremacy. So I'm going to study the development of civilizations, bearing in mind that there might have been aliens watching over and giving hints, as they are now. Oh, I think that I forgot to mention in the Supreme Education Department, our diplomacy, yes. Supreme Education Department is going to work out its own diplomacy, including negotiations and mediation, probably mediation, because I'm a mediator rather than a negotiator. But well, the other see, the partner are the extraterrestrials. So this is the level we are operating in, and we are going to do it via my little round tables, which, by the way, are part of the creation within the Health and Beauty Department. For some reason, I have not put it in. So the little round table series belongs here. Histories. Civilizations, religions, civilizations, languages, law, symbols. Then we have histories like history of arts. So we have fine arts, and here we have fashion, and we have music, theater, dance, architecture. We have the history of science, and here we would have the history of mathematics, the history of physics, the history of chemistry, the history of psychology, the history of medicine. I emphasize chronology and sequential development. We have the history of trade. We have the history of the earth and the universe. We have the history of technology. We have the history of ideas, where we have historical ideas, for example, revolution or democracy or monarchy, and we have ideas in the area of literature, for example, like irony or love. So you have on one hand the term, on the other hand the theme, and or motif. Then we have philosophy, the history of ideas in the area of philosophy like freedom. So again, chronology and sequential development. And we have biology, for example, life. The idea in the area of biology would be life. We can have the idea, the history of icons, which is quite quite a new development, quite fascinating. For example, what has been done to make Alexandra Kicza an icon? Perhaps this is an insight into Marilyn Monroe. Problems. The history of problems. And here we have terrorism. Finance. The faculty of finance. So, basically, we start with systemic thinking. So, for example, we're looking at the relationships between development and environmental problems. So, are we really getting richer? Then we have new concepts like Islamic banking, for example, in the area of banking. Apart from getting our basics, of course, but I want to give you the idea of the operation of this particular faculty. We have to look at the entertainment. Okay, so how the money works in entertainment. It's trade. So in terms of trade, we have trade of currencies, that would be forex. We would have a trade of goods, services, and other. Other tools would be gold or oil or other. Then we have as a separate category arts and antiques. Then we have inventions also as a separate category. Then we have wars. We have drugs. We have criminality and corruption as one category. And we have the overall conceptual thinking of finance in terms of streams, surges, outflows worldwide. So if you think of water and how it flows, I want to study it. This is high-level, advanced, analytical thinking. The mapping of all those flows and surges and when it goes down. Locating coincidences between what's happening in that area and in other areas of life. Overall, I think that I had this concept of looking at phenomena of life in the primary school. One of my friends was to write a short homework on some subject in physics, I think it was. And I remember that I posed a question. I was working on it, but she had no idea, so we were just having fun with it. And I said, well, let's ask the question, what does the bird see at night? And if you are intelligent enough, you will get my concept. It has nothing to do with Medvedev, so I didn't know Medvedev existed at the time. Now, money intercultural. So what is the meaning of money? What is the value of money? What is the design of money, etc. in different cultures. So this is finance. And last but not least, my report. I'm not sure if I will be able to upload it. Well, we'll see. Perhaps I will upload it in two parts. My NSA CIA report. So it has four areas: education, law, terrorism, and investigations. And of course, these are just some ideas, and I don't know how to make it into a powerful whole yet, but I'll be trying to achieve this result. So in the area of education, let me give you some ideas. Well, we start with reading and understanding what we read. It seems to be a great problem. Then we have to develop analytical skills. So it is very important to change education. I will also be, I have not put it down, but I will also be advocating the return to school, being the schooling in duty rather than the entertainment seeking institution that is supposed to make learning fun. No, it is supposed to make learning a duty, and this is the right attitude if you want people to represent whatever values. You are not to buy their hearts, you are to make them responsible. Habits, for example, it has to do with many things. One of them is reading and understanding, but the habit is checking the unknown words rather than the previous methodology, deducing the word from the context. We have this idea of development of the social skills. Here I would like to discuss my learning emergency aid and the creating the environment where you get peer tuition, which is doable. The education needs to be global because this is the world we are living in. So one thing is that it has to be intercultural, which does not mean that everyone has to be left-wing or cosmopolitan. No, you can be headstrong. Oh, I don't remember what headstrong is. Another habit is not using the word that you don't fully understand. So let's delete headstrong. Being stubborn right wing that thinks of his own country as separate from all the other countries, does not look for any integration, and considers that his system is the best of all. So this is the supremacy and the special role. And it can be Israel, it can be Poland as well. Poland has this strong messianistic movement, the undercurrent, which can explode one day. But let us not die. Even if you have this attitude, you need to be able to function between other cultures. And okay, you can believe that your faith is the best and supreme, but you need to respect other people's right to consider theirs exactly what you consider yours, and be able to go into a meaningful cooperation with them without changing their thinking and their ways, as long as you don't meet the controversial issues. But even then, you need to have the right attitude and not the one of you being right. The question of burqas is a really good example here. I said I would feel really abused if I were made to walk naked, which is exactly what's been done for me, just because I said you have no right to ban burqas. What it has to do, the global education has to include virtues. Okay, so you actually need to do it in a class. You need to discuss virtues. Like you need to be aware of the virtue of virginity. And this is not a laughing matter. You have the question of translation, so I want to handle this too, where you correct, where you translate incorrectly. And of course, we are dealing with intentional mistranslation in my case, but we need to emphasize some areas of problem too, of possible problem, because it leads to was. Then we are going to discuss the cartoon and see all the mistakes that have been made, all the errors that have been made in your response to my EU cartoon. This is actually a great material for study and making certain resolutions concerning how to educate people to avoid the kind of response. Because I was fully rightful to publish the cartoon. You are the wrong party. Cabaret, the same. My cabaret, the text I wrote. This is a totally misunderstood text with consequences potent enough to make it impossible for me to negotiate or mediate a peace process with Al-Qaeda. These are the consequences of your misunderstanding of something I published in Facebook. And you must also be aware of the responsibility in that. So the education needs to include that as well. The sense of humor. You need to understand the bitter humor, which is not supposed to make you laugh, but to make you think. That is certainly a missing ingredient in your education. The someone said. What do you do with the someone said? Okay, and these are just some concepts. There are more, of course. Law. So here I have, well, as I said, the three invariabilities. The invariability of correspondence, home, the body, plus two other invariabilities, that is the invariability of identity and the invariability of ownership. There is the question that has to do with the identity. Agnieszka Rojek said what? Did what? Thought what? Intended what? Your activity in that area of Agnieszka said, Agnieszka did, Agnieszka thought, Agnieszka intended is fully illegal. We have the labor code and the criminal code, and it needs to go, it starts with the Polish one, but this needs to be discussed too. We have the question of discrimination and nepotism. The state law, the ecclesiastical law. As I said, the form, the audited form for schools. Mental harassment, which is a torture, and it needs to be addressed exactly at that level. Counteracting Assanges. So this is like you have in the conflict between Assanges and Scientologists, you have those two things. One is counteracting Assanges, which is very important because Assanges are creating the criminal activity actually in other people. They, it's like watch the Bonfam or whatever, the guy with the hair, and there's Julian Assange sitting in the compartment. So that's it. And as far as the Church of Scientology goes, this is how you should work on developing the situation where legal proceedings cannot be happening in the Church of Scientology. It is absolutely unacceptable that Tom Cruise has whatever power over me. Why should he? He is the culture, not me. Why should he decide that Allah is going to be protected by the Church of Scientology, not me? So I'm not sure it will not end up with arresting Tom Cruise. constitutional rights. My constitutional rights have been violated, and it needs to be analyzed in detail. Self-defense. This is my constitutional right. And freedom from torture. Right. And of course, I am aware that what I'm doing, what I'm launching with this report is like fighting drug dealing in Mexico. So the only thing I'm going to do probably for now is to develop this conceptual framework to have the right perspective. Then we have terrorism. And here we have to think of it also slightly differently and to analyze it slightly differently. So we need to look at the torture and the correlation between torture and the intensification of terrorism. We need to think of it in terms of the last resort weapon. We need of the reasons. So we need to look at the history of the problem. And we need to think of it in terms of the consequences, because obviously, imagine the optimal situation for the State of Islam, where it conquers the territories it wants to conquer, but they have used chemical weapons there. So what do they get? Check the Vietnam. Forms. So forms of terrorism. It goes beyond the Islamic terrorism. I am a victim of the terrorism by the state. So you have this relation between the innocent individual and the persecuting state, which is a totalitarian country. Poland right now is a totalitarian state. And the forms of terrorism can be exactly that, by the state. Mobbing. The celebrities are given freedom to torture. IT terrorism. These are all sorts of things come into play here. And intimidation, of course. For example, the blackmail of my mom getting the medicine, saving her life, if they manage to break me, or not, if they don't. Now, investigations. And what's very vital is to use the metaphor of glasses for solving the problem of terrorism, because I emphasize it can be solved. I really believe in it. Otherwise, I would not get involved in it in the first place. I really believe the problem of terrorism can be solved, but it takes people of the right caliber. It takes ethical people. We need to return to honorable statesmanship and develop honorable stateswomanship. Investigations. What's vital here is the multi-level structure of life. So when we are doing our investigations, let me remind you of the story of Othello. We must know that we are not to, we need to get and punish Cassians, but we must get the Iago. Matryoshka metaphor for perception, which is going beyond the limits of the perception of the situation, of what actually happened, superimposed by the network our brains are in. So, okay, we operate within that network, but we are able to look out and see the truth. The nigger did it. So, this is, as I said, you know before you know. You know that I am guilty and that's it. And you investigate with the purpose of proving I am guilty because you know. The nigger did it. Now, we have to include possible psychiatric disorders of the people involved. And what I mean right now, especially with egocentrism, the people, of course, lynch is illegal, so you cannot solve the problem of me doing something that you did not like by lynch. Still, even here, you cannot accuse me and create ostracism on the basis of your imagination, of me saying something about you when you are not part of my life at all. I might have known of your existence, which is the case of Jacek Tichocki, or not even so, which is the case of Andrzej Duda, let alone his wife and his daughter, whom I was ridiculing. How come? Because she thinks that when I mention legally blonde, it's about her? Excuse me. By the way, legally black does not mean that I am the left wing. She was legally blonde because she had blonde hair. Okay, that's what I understand. And I wanted to have black hair, which does not connect at all with the left wing or satanists. That's all. And this is basically the concept from the movie, is that she had the world of her own. She had those little things, those beautiful things around her. And another concept is that everyone considered her stupid. Handling data. We have to do with psychological realism, which is the basic concept. So basically all the accusations against me have nothing to do with whatever psychological realism. This is the basic, the key concept in investigations. Then we have the correctness of data, completeness of data, validity of importance, interpretations, and conclusions. Thank you very much for your attention. This is 2 hours. Have a great year.